Hello there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. All right, today we are continuing on with Studs and Duds, and here with his is Matt Gruber. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate the invite. I'm excited to be here.
It's nice to have you. I think I've talked to you many times on Twitter, but never actually had you on the show. Yep. You want to take a second to tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Sure. Yeah, everything I post, tweet, write, you can find it on Twitter at @FF_worm. I'm writing for a few different sites right now, Fantasy Pros and 4for4. I have the link tree in my bio. So, again, everything's on Twitter.
All right. Excellent. I guess without further ado, let's get into it. Stud or dud? I don't remember. I don't look at these before. I look at the players, but I don't want to know what side you're on, so I don't know what side I'm arguing. Was David Montgomery your stud or dud?
He was a stud.
Okay, and his stats are 801 rushing yards, 316 receiving, 6 touchdowns, 183.2 fantasy points, 11.11 points per game, finished as RB24 and is currently going off the board as player 80 overall. Good for running back. Where the hell is it? Running back 27. So he is your stud. That's not going to make for a very interesting show here because I agree. So why don't you tell us what we both think then?
Yeah, I mean, he's going as RB27, I think you said.
Yeah. I have it as 24, but he's gone down since this weekend since I printed that graphic. So.
Yeah, I was on Underdog yesterday looking at some ADPs, and I think he's around like 84-ish, which would have him in the beginning of the 8th round.
Yep.
I just think he's definitely going to outperform his ADP. I mean, yeah, he's probably going to split a lot of time with 12th overall pick Jahmyr Gibbs, but as we both know, there was plenty of opportunity in that backfield last year. I know he's the bigger back. He should get all the goal line, red zone work. Jamal Williams, who is no longer on the team anymore, last year he had 14 touchdowns on 28 rushing attempts from inside the 5-yard line. I'm not saying David Montgomery will just assume all of that and even put those numbers up, but the opportunity is going to be there. He's running behind a great offensive line. He's a perfect complement to Gibbs' receiving profile. He can catch the ball himself if needed. Don't really expect him to be there for much passing role, but his touchdowns should skyrocket him. He had 4 RB1 finishes last season, and he has never finished worse than RB24 in his career. So I think that is his floor, especially if he's going outside of that right now in ADP. So I just love the opportunity for him, and I just think he's a smash at where he's going.
Yeah, I agree. Gibbs is going, last I checked, around the 3-4 turn. It hasn't actually, he's on the top of this one at 36 exactly. So the last pick in the 3rd. Whereas Montgomery is going, 8th round, 7th rounds? You give me 3rd round Gibbs or 8th round Montgomery. I'm taking 8th round Montgomery all day long. So this is one where we're going to have very little disagreement. I don't necessarily think he's a stud but for the purposes of this, he's a value. So that's definitely what you want. It's someone you're higher on. So definitely going to be someone I have a lot of shares of. Certainly going to have a lot more of him than Gibbs. Like I love Gibbs in Dynasty, but as far as redraft goes, how many times have we seen this where the highly touted rookie comes in and doesn't get as much work as we thought? I mean, Jonathan Taylor got a ton of work rookie year. Marlon Mack was done for the year with his ACL. Everyone else doesn't. When Javonte waited, who do we have? Najee actually got some work, but that team sucked.
Even Brees, he wasn't getting a lot of the snap share last year.
Yeah. Like we do this every year. And okay, maybe it'll hold true with Bijan and Algier will be a waste, but I think I've even taken some shares of Algier because they don't seem to do this. They don't just erase the veterans and go with the rookie right away. I've been telling everyone that in Miami. Everyone's high on Devon A-Chain. They just re-signed 2 veterans they love.
Yep.
He's not just going to erase Jeff Wilson and Mostert. Maybe long term he's the answer, but I just give me some of these cheaper veterans, 5 rounds lower in ADP instead of, I'll take someone. Who is there up there? Dobbins, Mixon, Jones. In redraft, I would take a lot of these guys over Gibbs. I get Gibbs could catch a lot of passes, but I don't think he can return 3rd round ADP unless he catches 70 passes. So
right, he's gonna be that home run hitter. I don't know what kind of usage he's gonna get in the red zone and the goal line. I mean, if they get that many attempts from inside the 5 as they did last year, I gotta believe most of them are going to Monty, who's the bigger back and can handle that.
He's the Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
said it. He's the Jamal Williams. All right, of your 3, who would you like to do next?
Do another stud with Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson it is. All righty. Deontay Johnson is his next stud. 882 receiving yards. I feel like you're going to say the words touchdown regression at some point because, well, he had none. 159.7 fantasy points, good for 10.5 per game. Wide receiver 30 finish, even though he had 0 touchdowns. Currently going as 65th overall. We will see if that is still up to date. 65th overall, wide receiver 32. So what is it you like about him?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start with what you said. Positive touchdown regression. I mean, it's a layup. He can't do any worse than he did last year. I was looking at his points, and if he scored even 4 touchdowns last year, he would have finished as the wide receiver 22, just ahead of Jerry Jeudy. I mean, touchdowns are everything. I know it's not a sticky stat, so you can't predict how many a wide receiver is going to score, but I'm pretty confident he'll score more than 0. So I think he's being drafted as absolute floor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I expect Pickett to improve in year 2. Granted, I don't know how much he will, but I mean, he has a year of experience now under his belt. I got to believe he gets a little better. Again, he discounting his rookie year, Deontay Johnson has never seen less than 144 targets. He's just a target hog. I know most of that was with Big Ben, but again, last year he still accumulated all those targets with Pickett. And he's just 2 years removed from his wide receiver 8 finish. Again, with Big Ben, it's different, but I don't think Big Ben was anything special his final year on the Steelers. I just think people are just throwing Deontay Johnson under the bus and just like forgetting about him. I just think he's a smash at where he's going. Like he's not going to finish any worse than wide receiver 32, and that's where he's going as.
He's going as wide receiver 32. Pickens is going as 36. I don't get okay, but even so, wide receiver 32 is his current price. Last year, with no touchdowns, he was wide receiver 30. How does he not beat this ADP? He's already proved in the absolute worst case scenario, he beat it by 2 spots. How does he not beat it? I don't see it.
Exactly. I think, and I was when I was looking up ADP last night, I was shocked to see where he was falling. I 0 touchdowns and he finished wide receiver 30. That's crazy.
And if by some I don't know, shouldn't say slim chance, but if by some chance Pickett happens to take a step forward, he's gonna crush this ADP. He's gonna be way up. Where did he go? I can't even find him. Oh, there he is, right there in the middle. I don't see how he doesn't return on this ADP, and I want him everywhere. It's mind-boggling how he's so low.
Yeah, I have written down in my notes that I think Drake London is going around wide receiver 24, and honestly, I'd rather have Deontay Johnson over Drake London.
26, he is
26.
55 overall, so he's 10 picks earlier and 6 receivers earlier.
Yeah, I'd much rather have Deontay Johnson over Drake London. I know the metrics London put up in a fantastic rookie year, but on a low volume passing offense, and a huge question mark at quarterback with Ritter, give me Deontay Johnson.
I agree wholeheartedly. Who do you want next?
Let's get into Calvin Ridley.
Ooh, Calvin Ridley appears in every single one of my shows so far. You're either really high on him or really low. That seems to be the way.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is no in between. He's either, I think half the shows he's the stud, half of them he's the dud. You either love him or you hate him. You hate him, I assume.
Thing is, I don't hate him. I actually love Calvin Ridley. I just think he's being drafted at his ceiling.
Oh, actually, one sec. Let me get into it.
1 second.
Alexa, off. Sorry, I have cued the A word behind me. Oh, it's my kid's got a timer going in the other room. One sec. Let me mute this. Oh, never mind. Sorry, my son has set a timer for his video game.
No
The
problem.
stats I have up on the board, he was out all of last year. The season before, he only played 5 games. These are his numbers from 2020, his last full year in the league. He put up 1,374 receiving yards, good for 9 touchdowns, 268 total points for 17.87 points per game in PPR. Obviously, with the Falcons, he was wide receiver 5, currently going as 53 overall, which puts him as wide receiver. I lost him. Where the hell is he? Oh, he moved up. He's now 43 overall, good for wide receiver 20. I suspect that's probably why he's on your dud list, because that's insanely expensive.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna.
We seem to be having a hard time with our backgrounds today.
Yeah, when I was doing my research last night, on underdog ADP, he was going as wide receiver 16, around ADP of 31.9.
That's insane.
Yeah, obviously it can fluctuate a little bit, but yeah, his last game came on October 24th, 2021. The next time he'll suit up for an actual game, it will be almost 2 years since he played. It would be 687 days. That's a long time to be out of football.
I get that this is a different situation than Deshaun Watson or Michael Thomas, but it hasn't worked out. Like, Thomas was injury. I get it. It hasn't worked out. Deshaun Watson was an injury. It hasn't worked out. Maybe in his second year back, it'll be all right, but he's also what? He's almost 30. I can't see this working.
Yeah, I think he's 28 years old right now, but he has a December birthday, so he'll be on the back end.
29. Okay, yeah.
He'll be on the back end of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know 28, 29 is not a death sentence for wide receivers, but he's not getting any younger.
No, but that depends on the wide receiver, though. I think the role he plays, the deep threat receiver, the bigger guy like him, I think the age is a bigger concern than like with a Cooper Kupp, who's a slot receiver. So
right.
The age definitely worries me. I'm out on him.
Yeah, I think people are drafting him at his ceiling, thinking he can return to his 2020 Falcons year. And I just don't see that in his cards. I mean, there's so many weapons on this Jaguars team with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. You got Etienne and Bigsby. I mean, Christian Kirk, maybe he's still the number 1 target on their team. He had 133 targets and finished as the wide receiver 12 last season. I mean, Zay Jones held his own with 121 targets. I don't think, obviously, Ridley's going to eat into a lot of that, but I don't think Zay Jones is going to go on the sideline now. Evan Ingram, 98 targets. I mean, he's going to have to bank on a lot of touchdowns, which he has been able to do in his career, but I can't say for certain that he is the true number 1 on this team with the way that Christian Kirk played last season.
Yeah, we go from a receiver where I can't see how he doesn't beat his ADP to one where I really think this is going to be a stretch. Like, obviously, 2020, he finished as wide receiver 5. So it's possible he crushes this ADP of wide receiver 20, but like, everything's going to have to go right for him. Give me Deontay. Where was he? Okay. So he's 20 overall. He's 43 overall. I can get Deontay Johnson 23 picks later. That's a no-brainer to me. I'll take Deontay 2 rounds later. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and I think based on the ADPs I was using, had Ridley going in like the middle of the 3rd round, whereas Christian Kirk was going a round and a half later at the end of the 4th. I think I'd rather have Christian Kirk than Ridley. I mean, he's been in that system.
Too.
He's been in the system. We see what he can do last year. Heck, I might even go Brandon Ayuk over Ridley. He's He
I
finished
like
as the
Ayuk.
So do I. He had a really productive season last year, finishing as the wide receiver 15.
I
You can probably get similar production from him as Ridley, and you can wait almost 2 rounds.
I was doing some show prep for a lot of all my shows earlier, and Ayuk came up on someone's list, and so did Debo. And I was amazed at how much higher Debo's going, 34 here, compared to Ayuk at 66. Ayuk's been better, with the exception of Debo's 1 year where he was a slash running back wide receiver.
Massive outlier year for him.
Ayuk was way better, and he's going 20 picks later. We got sidetracked here, but you're right. I would definitely take Ayuk over Ridley. Sorry, I'm out. I'm out on him. I don't hate the player. Well, that's not true. I do. I'm a Saints fan, and he was a Falcon, and I fucking hate this guy. I do hate the player.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, all right, that brings us to your last player, and I'll have to bring it up because I forgot who it is. Because that's how I roll. Oh, it's another guy I'm massively out on. The what should have been the Madden cover boy, because he's the greatest player in the league after Dalvin Cook was cut, Alexander Mattison. He last year, as a backup, had 283 rushing yards, 91 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, 90.4 points for 5.2 per game. He finished as RB51 and is going according to Fantasy Pros ADP, 74th overall. I feel like he's going a lot higher than that in some of the drafts I've seen. Maybe I don't know what the exact cutoff date. Oh, Fantasy Pros, the ADP, they don't allow you to change the date range. So I assume that this is factoring in before Dalvin was cut as well as now. 74. What is he at? 7? Oh, no. So he hasn't moved up any in the last week or so. 26 overall for a guy who was RB 51 last year, and I don't really think he's all that good. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so on Underdog, I saw he was going as RB 19.
That's insane.
ADP of about 63, which was crazy to me.
Do you have their ADP up, or do you just have notes?
No, I just have notes. I don't have it
okay.
Up right now.
No, I just wasn't sure who was going in his range. I do have the Underdog ADP somewhere. I just don't have it.
I do have Miles Sanders at RB20, Cam Akers
Sorry,
RB22,
who was next?
Cam Akers RB22, and then David Montgomery RB26.
I would take at least the first two pretty easily. I'm pretty sure. No, I would take all three pretty easily over Madison.
Yeah, so. I'm definitely in on Sanders and Akers over Madison for sure. Yeah, I mean, we got to acknowledge what Madison's done in Cook's absence. I mean, it was 6 starts. He was a beast for sure, but it's such a small sample size, and he did all of this on massive volume. In his 6 starts in place of Cook, he had 32 touches, 25, 16, 11, and 24 touches. It just seems to me he needs that volume to produce, and I'm just not sure he gets it. He's never been called upon for an entire season. In his 4 years in the league, he only has 404 rushing attempts, and his career high in a season is 134. Who knows? I mean, he has the size, but he's never been asked to do it before. But it's just a big question mark to me.
That's my argument why I don't like him. But when Dalvin Cook goes down, he's a top 5 RB every single time. Yeah, you know why? Because when Dalvin Cook goes down, they don't have a backup plan in place. He gets 100% of the touches and eats. He volumes his way like Najee Harris to a top 5 finish. When they go into the season knowing Dalvin's not there, they're going to give Chandler and or McBride more touches than anyone realizes. And he's not going to his volume's not going to be there. It's not going to be like it was when Cook was gone and he was the only man on the field. There's no way. I'm out. I agree.
Not that great. He wasn't even that efficient last year. Last year, he was at 3.8 yards per carry while Cook was at 4.4. I think people are just assuming that Madison slides in and just does what Dalvin did, and he's not anywhere close to the player Dalvin Cook is.
No.
It's just the truth.
Yeah, it was like a couple of good games, and now Sorry, go ahead, continue.
I hate to project and I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like another Mike Davis situation where everyone was hyped up. He was the guy in Atlanta after filling in for CMC in Carolina. I think he was going in like the 5th round, and he just was terrible. It just feels to me this could be the same path.
Yes. It's Mike Davis 2.0. This is Mike Davis 2.0. You couldn't have said it better. That is perfect. So on Fantasy Pros, he's going pretty much with the same people here. We've got, like you said, Pierce, Sanders, Cook, Akers, Swift, White, Connor, Madison, Montgomery, Pacheco, Javante, the other Cook. I think I'd pretty much rather have. Okay, you can see the guys on the screen. Is there anyone on this list here from Pierce to Dillon? Okay, Pierce to Cook that you wouldn't take over Madison? Like, I think I'd take Madison over Dillon, but I think I'd probably take I'd take Pierce, Sanders, Cook, Akers, Swift, White, Connor, Montgomery, Pacheco, Javante, and the other Cook over Madison. Every one of them.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Maybe I'm not really sold on James Cook yet, but
he was
I
the
know
wishy-washy one for me.
I know the community loves him. I can see it. I'm just not there yet.
No,
But pretty
I
much
don't
everyone
love him. I just don't like Madison.
Right. No, exactly. Everyone else I'm taking over Madison without hesitation.
And I'm not a Pacheco guy. I'm out on Pacheco.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge White guy. Okay, you know what? DeAndre Swift might be tough. I'm not really in on DeAndre Swift either, but there's a handful here like Pierce, Sanders, Akers, Connor, Montgomery. I'm taking all of these guys easily over Madison. I don't think I want him anywhere in this range. What's 74? What's that? End of this beginning of the 7th, I think, in a 12-team league. Yeah.
Beginning of the
pick 2 of the 7th round.
7th. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So no thanks. I'm just completely out. All righty.
Yeah.
Well, that is a wrap there. You want to take a second to tell everyone again where they can find you?
Sure. Yeah. Everything I write, tweet, everything you can find on my Twitter at ff_worm. In my bio, I have a link tree with all my articles I've written in the past and ones that are coming out. So yeah, catch me there.
All right. This has been Studs and Duds with Matt Gruber. Once again, this is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. Thank you for watching the Mad Science Lab podcast. And thanks again to Matt for joining me. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.